And here's the crazy part. If you trade some of those survival emotions with practicing a new behavior with an elevated emotion, or how your future would feel like at the end of your day if you accomplished your day. As you lower the volume to that emotion, you're going to take your attention off of everyone and everything in your life that's causing you to feel those emotions. And you're taking your power back and you're building your own field. And so the meditation is instrumental for you to suppress or overcome the personality that's connected to the past and the 95% that's mostly unconscious programs. So as you start to fire and wire new thoughts in your brain, and you want to remember how you do want to think, you want to remember how greatness would think, how nobility would think, how someone who was calm, patient, and in love with life would think, your brain would naturally construct whatever it is creatively of who you would want to be when you would be thinking that way. And it's not uncommon if you keep repeating it with attention, not like an affirmation, but repeating it with the intention of wiring that information in your brain. If you wire it properly and you do it well, you want that voice to be the new voice in your head that's telling you that you can do something. So that thought, then, if it's wired in your brain, should remind you of your future instead of your past. In other words, you should be able to reproduce that level of mind automatically. That's when you're installing a new program. And yeah, you got to change your brain waves and get beyond the environment, get beyond your body, and get beyond the predictable future and the familiar past to do that. And you understand, philosophically at least, from either these classes or from some of the books you've read, that that's entirely possible. And when you begin to plan who you're going to be, this is the important element. This is where you rehearse. Now you take the same circumstance from yesterday where you weren't as conscious, where you felt like you could have done a better job. And if it bothers you, then you're on the path to evolution. If it bothers you enough and you're uncomfortable enough to think about, if I had another opportunity, another chance at this, another opportunity in that meeting, on that Zoom call, with that person, with my reaction, what would be a better way? What would be a more evolved way? What would love do? What would greatness do in this situation? And if you can't find the answer, find a book that has the answer. I'm sure someone has faced a similar condition in history that has overcome that experience to develop some type of wisdom about it, and read it and understand it and put yourself into the equation and imagine the same situation and rehearse it, who you're going to be. This is essential because now you're priming the brain with new circuitry. You're installing the circuitry, a new mind. And if you keep reminding yourself over and over again, it's going to become more automatic. It's going to become more effortless, and you're going to naturally catch yourself. And you have the circuits in place now to utilize, to initiate, to do something with. And the more you practice it, the more natural and easy it becomes. And it's no different than an athlete or a musician or an actor or an actress or a dancer rehearsing their moves, rehearsing what their lines are. It's the act of priming the brain so that when you get there, you have the circuits in place. You remember. So the evolution then in your life should be you're doing the meditation to remember in your waking day and step in to those behaviors. And done properly, people notice that you're different. And the reason that they notice that you're different is because you're not showing up to them as the memory of who they remember you to be. You're unpredictable. You're out of the known, and something's different, and they're paying attention to you, and they're suspicious because you're no longer behaving in the same way you normally do. In fact, you're not even talking like you normally do. And here's the crazy part. If you trade some of those survival emotions with practicing a new behavior with an elevated emotion, or how your future would feel like at the end of your day if you accomplished your day, what would that mean if you were able to master that one day, to break out of the routine, and a synchronicity or a serendipity or a coincidence or an opportunity or something came to you, an email, a text, something was showing, the universe was showing you, keep going. If you can get in touch with those feelings of awe and wonder and joy, and not in a fake it till you make it way, but working with your body, you want to teach it. what it's going to feel like. So it's aligned to that future. And if you could cultivate those emotions and take a chance and go really all in on it and feel those emotions before your life changed. Now, this is switching from the materialist who's victimized by the reality to the immaterialist who's creating reality, a reality beyond the senses. And done properly, if those emotions that you feel every day are activating your heart center, you are stepping into the divine. You are going to be a different person. It's a different consciousness. And in that state, if you're feeling those emotions, it's impossible for you to look for your future because you couldn't look for it because it would feel like it was already happening and you're in a different energy. You're connected to the energy of your future. Now, here's the tough part. That's really good in the meditation. I've done this numerous times. In fact, I work on it every day. I finish my meditation in my life, I feel great, and then here come the emails, and here come the obligations, and here comes the breakdowns and the challenges, and all the things start piling up or coming at me. And if I start reacting to those conditions, each one of those conditions starts to lower my energy. And it takes a piece of me every time I react emotionally. And by the end of the day, you return back to the same person and you forget and you become matter, trying to change matter. And we missed opportunities. We missed the unknown. And so eyes open is what this work is about during these times. It is fundamental. I was doing a live stream this weekend with the advanced group, and I was charging them to find a person that shares the same purpose, the same mission, somebody who they can be honest with. And after they finish their meditation, get on a call with them for 10 minutes and just say, okay, I just want to vocalize in my think box who I am going to not be today, how I'm not going to think, how I'm not going to react. Let me stay conscious of what I did yesterday and review it so that I'm just not going to go there, because it's not about any of the things we think it is. It's about our evolution in this process. To learn how to create from fifth dimension instead of three dimension is why we're here, to remember that we can access the divine and use it to create reality in this illusion. So then if you started vocalizing how you were going to act because you got clear on it, and you can actually articulate it, and you could articulate how you were going to be in certain circumstances that you would like another shot at. I used to reason with my kids when they were young, when they get upset with me at school or something happened. I really never cared truly of what the details were. What I cared about is I'd always ask them, so let me ask you a question. If it happened again, same exact circumstance, how would you do it differently? In other words, at the end of the experience, what would make you feel good about you if you had another opportunity? And in the beginning, they just didn't have the life experience to be able to piece it together. But if I was able to, as their steward, to be able to instruct them, to reason with them, to say, if you do this, this is going to happen. And do you want that to happen? No, well, then let's back up and think about it another way. And when they were really happy with it and they smiled and they started laughing and they understood it, I'd make them repeat it back to me over and over again. So tell me again, what would you do if it happened again? And then I'd say, you missed the part. Oh, yeah. And when they were able to articulate it and complete it properly, I knew it was wired in their brain. And then when I was doing something, I'd turn around and say, so tell me again. I kept, teasing them. And they would go through the whole entire thing, and then they would roll their eyes. They'd say, no, you got to tell me. You got to keep reminding yourself so you stay conscious. And then they would get to this point where they just couldn't wait for it to happen, so that I would leave them alone. That means they're ready. They're ready for the challenge. They're not contracting from it. They're prepared to meet that challenge with a new level of mind. And when we do that properly, the side effect is more wholeness, more satisfaction, more presence, more compassion, more understanding. We have a moving energy, a movement into our hearts, and we feel more whole, and we're not creating from lack or separation. And so we have an enormous amount of environmental pressure for the whole entire globe, and no species wakes up and begins to evolve and make different choices and do different things and gets creative and starts creating different experiences and gets the feedback from the environment through its senses chemically that begin to select and instruct new genes to cause that organism to adapt to the environment, and those genes make proteins, and whether it's thicker fur or longer legs or better eyesight. The organism is adapting to the environment, and it was the environmental pressure through adversity that caused the organism, a small percentage of them even possibly, to break from the species, and through its environmental pressures, through the challenges, begin to evolve. And so I said to the group on Saturday that we're all faced with great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. Not all of our attention on our outer world. So the success, for lack of a better word, or the accomplishment of you sticking to your intention that day is a process of evolution. And we came from source and singularity, from oneness, really down in the density. And we had to forget we were oneness so that we can experience more to life than everything that oneness has to offer. But as we wake up in this process of evolution and we start evolving our behaviors, we start remembering now that we have that divine element in us. And remembering then is how we start to overcome those programs that keep us going unconscious and forgetting. And when you, through trial and error, begin to craft a new personality by your own level of awareness, and it's no longer about wealth or fame or health or whatever people organize their energy into, but now the person's a work in progress, and they understand, if I'm changing my personality, then there's going to be an opportunity that other people are not going to see because they don't have the eyes to see or the mind to pay attention to or notice, because their brain and body are in the past. They can't see the opportunity because the brain only sees equal to how it's wired. And so you start wiring these things and reality starts presenting itself in front of you in mysterious ways. You have the patterns in your brain to be able to recognize it in your environment.